Hi, this is Kathy DeHart with DeHart Construction Services, located right here in the Inland Empire. You know, we're a family-owned business, and today our youngest member of our family is visiting. Kinsey, can you say hi?
Hi.
Now, Kinsey, I have an important question for you. Where do you think food comes from?
A market store?
You're right. But before it gets to a market, we have farmers and dairies and all kinds of other people who make food. Do you remember hearing that?
Uh-huh.
And then we have people who have to keep the food cold.
And guess what?
What?
I remember we getting strawberries at a little market.
Well, Papa and we work with companies that make food and keep food cold and gets it to the grocery stores.
That's cool.
DCS is a proud supporter of the American Dream. For all of your cold storage or food facility needs, visit our website at chillwithdheart.com. Once again, chillwithdheart.com. Serving all of California, CSLB 949062.
What up, everybody? Welcome to the Lexit War Room. We have a special guest. It's special to us. It's our producer. What up, bro? Introduce yourself.
What's up, everyone? How you doing? My name is Alfred. I'm over here at studio. Sorry about the lighting. These guys just say, hey, you're going to jump right in. And I said, yes, brother, we'll do it. So here I am, man. I'm so excited to give a shout out to everyone out there. Jesse, A-Rod, Thank you so much for the invitation, for inviting me.
Our sister, Araceli, couldn't make it. Unfortunately, she was in a car accident, but thank God that she's okay. So we had our producer, Alfred from Lexit, stamp in. And we just want to thank again for our sponsor, DeHart Construction over here in California. Make sure you check them out. Go ahead, A-Rod.
Yeah, for sure, man. We got a sponsor now, guys. You know what I mean? We got a sponsor. We're blowing up. But not only that, somebody that actually loves what we're doing, is supportive of what we're doing, and understands that educating the Latino community is one of the most important things we can do, not only nationwide, but in California is very important. You know, not only winning elections, but just winning over people, the hearts and minds of people, because let's be honest, man, the Democrats have done a number to our community, and we need to wake them up. We need to educate them, and so they can make the best possible educated decision in the future. But that being said, let's dig into it, man. We have a lot going on today. We want to talk about Kanye. We want to talk about the podcast we're on, what happened during, what happened afterwards, what happened before. A lot's going on in this news cycle just this week, so there's so much going on. But first, let's get started with this podcast, right? So we were on a podcast this week. First off, shout out to us. Shout out to us, because I'm going to tell you what, you guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but how many conservative movements do you guys know that actually get invited on to not just left-leaning stuff or just other podcasts, but I'm talking about podcasts, hood podcasts, podcasts where people have their ear to the ground, podcasts that are the streets are listening, right? That's the kind of podcast we get invited to. Look, at the end of the day, a lot of people that we're trying to reach look just like us, right? It's very hard when you're a suit and tie Latino and you're sitting up there saying all the proper you know, like Jesse always says, statistically and all this stuff. Guess what? Regular Latinos, they're going to tune them out. I hate to say it, but they're going to be like, man, these fools don't look like us.
Boring.
Man, this fool looks like a Poindexter. But when you have Latinos that are like us, everyday Latinos that work, we go to work, we come home, we have families, and we get invited because they realize that our movement is making an impact. So real quick, let me give you guys a little history on this podcast. This podcast is called Hood Stocks. The actual guy running the podcast was Lucky, right? So he put a message out there. He said, anybody that wants to run my podcast, let me know, and you guys can interview the person of your choice, right? So guess what? Everybody was like, Alex, we want Alex, right? So Alex came up and was like, I'll be interviewed. And guess what? He said, and I want to interview Lexit. I'll run the podcast, but I want to interview Lexit. And you know,
he's a big left-leaning Latino. He's one of the bigger for their side. He's one of the biggest ones from there. And you notice, you see, he didn't call out none of these other conservative. See who he wanted? He wanted us, brother. But go ahead.
Yeah, he wanted us because he realized that we're actually making an impact in the community. But not only that, when they hear voices from people that look just like them, you know, it's like they're like, okay, let me try to trip them up. Let me get them, right? So, and you know, us, we don't back down from any kind of when we get called out. So we were like, cool, we're with it. We went down to East LA, right? Whittier Boulevard, right off of Whittier Boulevard, went to a studio somewhere in that area. And we have at it. And first and foremost, I want to let you guys know we didn't know any of the questions. We didn't know any of the questions that were going to be asked of us beforehand. It wasn't like they gave us something to say, hey, these are the questions we're going to ask. We were blindly asked them. We did the best to our ability. It wasn't, and no, I wasn't Googling nobody. I was talking to my wife and I was talking to my daughter. You know, they were like, stand up straight. You look good. Your beard looks kind of crazy. People are talking crap in the comments, which kind of throwing me off. And another thing too, real quick, just to get this out of the way, when I didn't see somebody's comments, they were like, dang, that guy's full of himself. He keeps on staring at the camera. No. So here was the camera right here in front of me, say like right now. Right above it was a huge TV screen with everybody from YouTube's comments. So we were reading all of your guys' comments. So when we were looking up like this, we were looking at your guys' comments you guys are reading, watching your guys' arguments. And that's the reason why a lot of us kept on doing this and looking up, because we were looking at a lot of the comments. And then there's a group of guys that other, I would say, hood dudes that were standing behind that you guys didn't see as well. So we had an audience of I would say, that were watching us. I mean, straight up, dudes that were just sitting there kind of looking around, watching us. So we had a little, audience there as well. So like I said, let's start from the beginning. We didn't know Alex. I started looking into him before, right when I said, who's this dude? Saw that he's a guy that down south is an advocate for a lot of the street vendors, right? And at the end of the day, some stuff he does, I mean, I'll be honest, some stuff he does, I'm like, okay, I applaud it because, nobody ever supports violence. You know what I mean? We don't support violence or any of that stuff, beating up people, whatever. But the bigger message that he pushes, ixnay, we started looking into it. We're like, man, these guys are literally what we do, but on the opposite end. So trip out on this. So I'm going to give you guys a little like background to this because Jess too. So Lucky calls, hey, let's do this, right? So originally it was supposed to be me and Alex, right? Me and Alex supposed to do this. Then I was like, Jess, because it's not really, when it said versus, it's not really a versus when the podcast guy is the one asking you the questions. That's not a versus. That's like an interview, right? And then he'll give a rebuttal. A versus is when you have somebody moderating and they're asking both questions. So I said, Jess, why don't you come through? I mean, you won't be the main person, but you could be on the side, because I knew it was going to be a hit job, right? So we didn't know the other dude was going to show up. We get there, we see Alex, and we're like, what's up, dog? What's up? What's going on? Nice to meet you. And it was all, normal, cordial, whatever. Then he brought, was it Aaron? Yeah, Aaron, right?
Yeah, they tell us. Yeah, there's another dude coming on. As soon as he said, I text A-Rod. I'm like, can you believe that? Because that's why we didn't ask for the questions in advance, because we're like, there's two of us and only him. So he could ask us, we're not going to ask for the questions or whatever. But then, so as soon as we get there, they call this other dude. So I was like, oh, hey, he probably one of their baddest dudes or whatever. And then so it was a disadvantage because we didn't even have the questions. We didn't have the questions or nothing. And like A-Rod said, that dude, he's even doing the microphone. So he's cutting us off and all of that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when we're getting asked, like right from the beginning, and like I said, at the end of the day, it's outside of politics, outside of our beliefs or whatever, we were cordial with each other. You know what I mean? Like there was no, in the beginning, there was a little kind of weirdness between me and the dude Heron or whatever. I kind of made a comment about his hat. He had that indigenous hat. And I had said something like, hey man, I like that hat. I want to do Lexit with this. And then before the podcast, he had said something like, nah, man, this pattern and Lexit doesn't mesh, roles two opposites. And then I was like, what are you talking about, bro? I'm a Latino. I can put whatever I want. And then everybody's like, whoa, leave for the podcast. And we're like, all right, calm down, right? But at the end of the day, we understood what it was. We were going to ask questions. We were going to give some pushback or whatever. So right away, I realized they had a narrative to push, right? I thought they were going to ask us, what is Lexit and what are you guys doing and da-da-da-da, right? I knew they were going to give us pushback, but the first thing I noticed from the get, and I know Jesse could say this, was they studied us. If you guys go back and watch this, they already knew some of the stuff that I was going to say.
You're breaking up, bro. We can't hear your voice. You keep cutting on and off. Go ahead. Can't hear you. A-Rod, talking in? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're hearing you now.
Okay. So from the get-go, and I know Jesse could say this, they already really kind of knew, like when they were gonna ask questions. They already did backgrounds into us. Because I remember when I talked about my son, right? When I was talking about my son and what happened to him at the school, they kind of looked at each other. And before I could, okay, it's like when I'm telling the story, before you could finish hearing the story, he cut me off. Like I was like, okay, so my son, in his school, they put a tampon dispenser, and before I could even finish, he was like, so you're telling me that you didn't teach your son? How does that affect him? So they already knew our stories, what we were saying. They already had like in their mind. I wasn't searching over there for all their. I didn't hear one debate that he ever had. As God is my witness, I never heard one debate. I just realized he was out there, helping with the elotes, and he stood up, but I never heard his debate. So it was already set up. They talked to each other. You could tell they knew the questions they were going to ask them when we asked them. But like I said, is right away that wasn't equal. It wasn't even fair from the get-go. We were answering questions blindly, right, Jess?
Yeah, we were asking questions blindly, like A-Rod said. So it was totally disadvantage. And then like A-Rod said, he even had his little cue card or whatever it was, and he was trying to show them up there and all like he was totally like that. And like I said, we didn't have no, we didn't know anything what they were going to answer. But and then like A-Rod said, it wasn't fair because every one of the discussions, it was what they wanted to talk about. It was all just ridiculous because they're just Marxist, righteous, leftist, commies, socialist, whatever. So every question was, that's why if you watch the video, you see my face every time they're talking, like rolling my eyes, and I'm like, ridiculous. And I even had at one point had to say, hey, done talking about this, just talk about what you're doing. They're doing to the kids in the schools and that. Like I had to righteously force it. And then ever true, if we were getting on that, he would kept on saying, "Oh, we'll get to that later," or whatever. Like so, he wouldn't even answer what we were saying when we were saying our stuff. He'd be like, "Okay, we're talking later." He would just like shut it down. That was what I noticed too. But like I said, they just kept on. It was to me, it was hilarious, bro, because no matter what, everything that they said, it was always white supremacist fault, white supremacist or colonizer, and all just ridiculous. And then he was for a long old time, he was asking about socialism, and you were handling him, bro. Like you were doing so good. You're explaining what socialism, but he just didn't want to hear it. That's why even he takes that to say that, oh, you guys don't even know. Yeah, you did. We know exactly what it is. You said it, everything. Just because he doesn't like what you say, he's trying to say, but he's wrong. He doesn't know what the hell socialism. You were saying it right. Just because you say what he doesn't want to hear, he's trying to discount you. But yeah, that's what I thought it was. I just thought it was ridiculous. It just showed, and then it showed. But as you went along, that's why if you guys watched it, the truth came out. So at first they were probably about socialism, and then they were just all talking about the past and the Indians and all this this nonsense. And then we made them. It got to where it showed they started mocking God, and then he was trying to justify grooming kids. He was trying to justify that it's all right for them to be pushing it on kids. But what was your thoughts, Alfred?
Well, initially, first of all, when I saw you guys having that conversation, I can see right away that it was just a one-sided. As you mentioned, I think that's one of the things that I asked both of you. I said, "Hey, did you guys get the questions so we could have properly prepared?" And the reason why I asked this is because it was a lot of the things that they were mentioning is stuff that they actually do believe. For example, they were talking about socialism in a sense where it's a positive thing, and then they were kind of presenting it in a way where this is truly they do believe that socialism is a good thing. For example, as a culture, as a one, it's good for all of us to share the right, or even that, let's all work together, or even that. But the reality is, like, what they don't understand is that if you look in history, you're going to be able to understand that socialism is actually a point. It's one step lower to communism. You know what I mean? The example why I say this is because socialism actually goes against capitalism, meaning like you cannot have your own business. You cannot, if you work hard, that means socialism as a community, we share are the reaps. We share everything that we make collectively as one. And see, that's why you have that mentality about healthcare for all, and this and that, and justice and social justice. When you start analyzing carefully, the history of it comes from socialism, one step below communism. So when
Yeah,
you
it's one step closer to giving the government full control. That's what he's doing.
Exactly. And so when he said, when he started, I really, what threw me off, and I'll be honest with both of you, is when he said, "Did you guys know that the Indians helped write the Constitution?" I was like,
Oh,
"What?"
bro.
Oh, where? I was like,
Bro. First off, this is what's
Ridiculous,
crazy to
bro.
me.
That was
He
the
asked
most
me,
stupidest
"Do
thing.
you
Yeah.
know who wrote the Constitution?" I said, "The founding fathers." Right? Okay.
right.
If you Google right now, who wrote the Constitution? I don't know, Madison, Jefferson. Some people, some names will come up, right? Founding fathers. Then later he goes, "Wrong," and I'm like, "What? Like, did he want specific, like a list of names?" I'm thinking to myself. So then I got specific later on. I said, "Well, they got bits and pieces from European country, like other established constitutions in Europe, and they put them together, the best ones they thought. If you really get into detail, that's what happened." He was like, "Wrong. It came from the Native Americans, Indians." So you know what I was thinking? I'm not lying, bro. I sat back when he said wrong. I'm thinking, okay, so now he's thinking he's right. So I'm thinking to myself, well, then why weren't they following these things when there was tribal colonialism as well? Like, did they have borders when it came to their own tribal? No. If another tribe came in, guess what? They conquered that tribe. So they just sound like they sat there and they were like, sorry, hold on real quick. On Constitution, whatever, you can't, bro. I was literally sitting there to myself. But another thing too, people don't understand, when you're there, and it's like anything else, like you guys, you're respectful. I'm talking. We're all starting to talk. So a lot of times you'll see I went silent because I realized it would have just ended up being a screaming match, and then it would have people would have probably ended up getting more mad at us. So sometimes it's better just to let them talk and show how foolish people are. So sometimes I sat back, was just like, Jesus. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah. Well, hold on. If anybody has any questions, put the questions, and later on in the show we'll be answering questions. So just in the comments, just leave all your questions right there. But yeah, there was the foods, but that was the most stupidest question, bro. That they said. They imagine he said that, bro. And then another thing too is they're trying to, like you said, they were trying to make it like socialism's all great, right? And we're like, what? That's why it's never worked and everything we're telling them, right? And you said, every time it doesn't work, their excuse was, it's because the CIA. Because the CIA is not letting social, like, so totally ridiculous, bro. Like, they had the ridiculous excuses for everything, why it's a total disaster. It's ridiculous how they're trying to do it. But that's why I was telling you, see, that's what they try to do. See, they want to talk. I'm telling you, they would have went on for another 5 hours about socialism and about Indians and colonies. That's their bread and butter. That's what I'm telling you. That's what they want to talk about. They don't want to talk about these groomers and all this kind of. They don't want to talk about all that stuff. They want to be on those areas. That's why I don't want to be right there. I was like, no, I don't even want to be right here talking about this nonsense, because that's what they do. See, that's perfect illustration what they do to our Latinos and they do to blacks. I said, see, they're right there manipulating them, because Latinos have a lot of pride in our heritage and our race and all that. So they're using that, Latinos and whatever, yeah. So they're trying, and then they're trying, like A-Rod said, the victim mentality, that they killed us, and whoa. Like, they got them focusing on that, and then just race, and the evil whites, and race. Like, don't focus on the economy, the gas prices. They're grooming kids. They're pushing that stuff down our throats, like taking your guns, raising taxes. Don't think about none of that. Just focus on the Indians and colonizing and stupid crap. That's what we have to be like, no. Who cares about that crap? That's why I said you need to focus on today, what's going on today, not what happened 500 years ago.
See, here's the thing real quick, and I'm going to let the brother talk. Morality. They don't want to talk about these kind of things. He couldn't deny. He gave us a pushback when he talked about socialism, right? Said, I don't agree. he gave us pushback when he talked about church, right? He said, I think church is back. But one thing he couldn't dispute was the fact that they're leaving his side and they're coming to ours.
Mhm.
He tried to tell us why. He can't tell us why. The reason why he can't tell us why is the same reason why they're leaving, bro. And let me tell you guys what it is. He said, no, it's because of this, that, and the other. No, it is literally because of morality.
Mhm.
The reason when I came out and said, leave our kids alone, Lucky, the guy that's in the middle, like some of their stuff, like some of our stuff, did that. That right there, and he looks. If you guys watch the video, he looks at Lucky. You want to know why? Because he doesn't understand, because he doesn't believe in God, how people of faith or people that actually love their kids and actually want them to serve God or just want them to be good, don't want them to go to church, or don't want them to go to a drag show and go to church. Imagine this, bro. Just imagine this. I'm sitting here. I'm home. I'm in my house watching TV. Hey, pa. Hey, dad. Yeah, mijo. Can I go to church with grandma? Nah. Dad, can I go to a drag show with Tia Lupe? Yeah. Grab your sweater, mijo. Grab your sweater. Make sure you go to the drag show. I know it's a joke, but no, just think about
Says
that, bro.
no Latino ever.
It says no Latino ever in history. Just imagine that, bro. That is what he said. That is
He thinks we
literally what
want
he
that.
said. I'd rather have my kids go to a drag show than go to church.
Yeah.
He
And then
doesn't
hold up. And then
understand that is
too,
the
it
biggest
was
reason
like
why
not
they're
only
leaving
that,
his side.
there was another third dude in there, and he was all on their side. If you go watch it again, you can hear him cheering. And at one of the times, I even during I looked at him and I was like, "Hey, what are we battling with, 3 dudes or what?" Eh? Because this dude kept side busting. Like, so not only we have to pay attention to both of them and all that, there's a third dude right there, and he's making comments and like he's answering the questions for them, even us that we're saying things. He's answering and giving the, oh yeah, yeah, and then whatever they say, he's cheering and yelling and all. And so even that was even made us feel uncomfortable because they had a third cheerleader in there on their side.
He was all right. He was all right. Like as a guy, he was kind of funny and goofy, but it just, to the dynamic of things, Jess was right. To the dynamic of things, it just was really hard to like kind of tone in on like what you wanted to talk about, what you wanted to talk about. When the background going like, oh my God, like,
Well, yeah, and then
and
he's
you're just like,
pumping them up. Yeah,
yeah,
he's making them think they're doing good because they say something, and then this fool's out here, yeah, yeah, like if he got us. So it's giving them confidence. You know what I mean? He's making them think they're doing
well,
better than they really are.
it's not even that, because I mean, anybody that really watches it will kind of see like that's where you draw a line in the sand when he said the whole church thing. It's just one of those things where it's like, come on, my guy, like we're having like a podcast, we're talking. Let us have this back and forth. Let us kind of do our thing. Like, if you agree, then that's fine. Just wait to love on this fool after the show's over. You know what I mean? Wait, you know what I mean? Like, wait till after the show's over. We came down here, bro. I drove a couple hours to go up there, do it, down there, do our thing. But I mean, afterwards, the homie's cool. Like, they're all normal dudes afterwards. Nobody sat there and was like, what's up? Well, everybody's cool. Everybody's like, what's up? Showed love. We all took a picture. It wasn't like it was, any real. We knew what it was. But that's what I'm glad. I'm actually glad it was like that, and it wasn't. But that just goes to show you, bro. I'm glad that it was like that, because it goes to show you that a lot of times these people that we're arguing against across the street, sometimes when you just talk to them that way, you end up being like, okay, we'll agree to disagree. Just remember that when we're screaming across the street and stuff, sometimes you may be hating them or might liking them. Just remember to have a godly character. You don't want to sit there and, break character of what God wants you to be. At the end of the day, we're going to be accountable for how we act. So you don't want to sit there and be like flipping the finger off and doing all this stuff, because people, the first thing they're going to do is, oh yeah, real godly. So I'm not going to lie, it was hard to kind of hold our composure sometimes when I was sitting there going like, oh my, I wanted to be like, when he said that about the kids, bro, about something, you want to be like, are you effing stupid? Like, but then to yourself, you're like, hey, there's people that are lost. There's some people that don't know Christ and they're acting this way. So at the end of the day, I mean, it wasn't like I said, it wasn't like they were bad dudes. You know what I mean? They're cool dudes. They just they're just way off. You know what I
They
mean?
don't have God. But go ahead, man. Alfred.
Oh, I was gonna tell you guys the names. I was able to capture all of them. I think it was so we got Alex, who was one of the main guys. Then you had Heron, who was actually with the indigenous hat. Then you got Preston, who was walking in and out. You know, you saw him, you know, walking around without due respect. And then Lucky, who was there, who I mentioned. And so all great people. At the end, you know what? This is some of the things that we need to do as a community: come together and have these discussions. Because at the end, you got the right, the left, right? But we're in the same boat. We're paddling.
Right.
We're in the same boat paddling in there. Unfortunately, they're paddling the opposite way, so we're going in circles. And for now, for us to have these discussions about what is affecting us as a whole, as a community, and to actually be able to bring in some sense, godly sense, to these people, especially when, you know, I really liked it when you guys talked about. Alex said, "Hey, I come from a church. I read the Bible. You know, I understand." So see, to me, that really just showed me that, hey, listen. He's not that way off. You know, there's people that are way off in the sense where they're church hurt. You know what I mean? They gotten hurt. They're out of the church and they're no longer going to church for some reason. And so for that matter, that brought in a little bit of hope and say, oh, I'm hoping that, hey, at the end they can clap and say, hey, brother, let's talk about, you know, churchy things. Hey, why did you left? Or hopefully that would be a good opportunity. But listen, this is what we need to do as a community: come together and have these discussions and an open table where we can talk about things that are actually affecting us. For example, you know, the child trafficking that's affecting us as Latinos. You know, that's really hard. That's you know, you mentioned Alex, in regards to why they're leaving, is because these things are affecting us as a whole. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
You know, like you know, the White House just mentioned that the Biden administration has lost about 20,000 kids. And can you imagine, where are these kids at? You know what I mean?
Imagine if that was Trump.
Yeah, you know, this is, you know, 20,000 of our Latino kids that are being trafficked. Where are they? If these people lost them, where are they? Secondly, why are they pushing some of these propaganda into our schools through the transgender and education,
You know what he said?
curriculum, right?
His answer to that was, I guess we don't have enough faith in our kids. Like, we're not teaching our kids good enough. I'm like, that's your response. That was his response to a parent that said that they don't want to push enough. This is the tolerant left. Well, you know what? I guess you're not teaching your kids good enough. I guess you don't have enough faith against the weak. They're going to fall for it. I'm like, are you kidding me, bro? These are the same people that don't even want Trump on Twitter. You know what I mean? And they want to tell us that we're not tolerant enough. I'm telling you, bro, when they don't have an answer for something, that's like an undercover low blow. Like, you're not raising your kids strong enough. Like, no, what happens is I am raising my kids strong enough. So when this did happen, like my daughter, she brought it to my attention, and guess who got it taken down from the school? We did, right? I'm raising strong kids to not just bow down to things that we don't agree with. We raise them stronger than you think we do, right? So exactly. Back at him, I'm just, and I told Jess this, when you deal with people that are like this, that don't want God because they feel like they're their own God for some reason. They just don't want God because they're like, well, God restricts me from doing what my fleshly body wants to do. So in order for me to exist in the mentality I want to have, God can't be in it, right? So we're going to have to throw God out of it. Second of all, a lot of these racist minorities don't want equality. They want revenge in the name of segregation. They'll come in and say, we want equality, but we want to segregate ourselves. Okay, these minorities, let me give you, if you guys are white on here, let me give you a little tip. And I said this years ago, and it's even becoming more true every single time. These minorities that you see that are going over there pushing brown pride, black pride, whatever pride, they hate the white man. They literally hate the white man, and they will not be happy. They don't want equality. Newsflash, even you little, what do they call them? White guilt. You people that feel the white guilt. Let me tell you something. Here's a little secret. They're not going to be happy till you're underneath them. Did you hear what he said when he said, we're going to be the majority soon? He is telling you the
exposed
truth.
himself, like A-Rod said. At the end, he said like the whole lie, but at the end, he said, Yeah, because now you know why they want open borders. He said because he was wanting open, and then he said, yeah, because Mexico, we're going to take over. In other words, Mexico's going to take over Cali or America or whatever. He was thinking
Telling you.
that's his goal. He said it. He's all, yeah, that we're just going to keep coming and all that, and we're going to take it over. We're going to take it back. He said, and he's all, Viva Mexico. So we're like, what? See. That's what the goal is. See these people when they're saying that's why they want open borders. See, that's he admitted that that's what why. So when we're saying that open borders is wrong because you can't have just people coming over, we're saying all the reasons. See, he ain't even hearing nothing, which is all valid. When we're saying all anybody that actually cared about it or whatever, they would say, yeah, you know what, that's all right. But see, since he has an agenda, he wants, like he's saying, he wants them to take over, which is never going to happen. But he's thinking that, that Mexico is going to take over and take back. That just shows. But for me, the whole live narrowed down to, it just showed all faith. You've seen both of them were God haters that are mocking God, mocking the Bible. And then look at us, me and Aaron right there defending God, talking about faith. So in a nutshell, even though we talk about all these other policies, whatever, but see, that's what is starting even more and more so these last days is that it's all starting to come down to faith. Eh? That's why when you see these Democrats, the majority of them are God haters or they're lukewarm or they're not even care nothing about God. So that's why they're over there with the Democrat Party, because how could you be for that party if you love God? You know, it's started to be a line where if you love God, you're with the side, and if you don't, you like them.
And really quick, in regards to the stats, I know somebody mentioned in the chat, it says that they got us on stats. Unfortunately, some of these stats are easily manipulated. I can bring in a scorecard.
Most of them were wrong too.
Yeah, some of the stats, they said, hey, but reality, when you look at the stats, that's. I mean, I was looking and I'm like, you can't even see the source. So I was like,
there's no source. Like I say, 90% of the stuff they were saying was false. They're false. They're taking out of content or switching around. Pretty much all the stuff that they were saying was wrong, except for like history stuff.
The stats, like I told him, and there's no. I'd say what it is when it comes to socialism. Where has socialism worked? You know his answer was, well, in Venezuela, if they would lift the sanctions, it's always what ifs. Well, if they do, I could say that when it comes to capitalism, if we kick out all the Mexicans, it would work. Well, nobody's going to know that. Like, how are you going to know that if it never does? Here's the thing, man. Like I told him, socialism, there's no true, pure form of socialism that's ever worked. It's been social programs with capitalist economies, right? It's like a hybrid of most have worked, right? I don't care what he says. It's what it is. In all these Nordic countries, all these Viking countries, these white countries that they don't want to mimic, that's where it's coming from, right? Marxists, they don't want to admit that there's no true form, because here's what they do. Here's what the left does the best. Because I hate to say it, uneducated people are like children, right? Mm-hmm. So, when you're trying to tell your child something like, don't touch that, you can't have candy, it's not good for you. A child will usually be like, what do you mean this beautiful thing is not good for me, right? So they don't understand that. So you know what they do, the left does? They pull at the heartstrings of these uneducated minority people. So when we're down there taking the candy away at the border, saying, no. You guys can't come in. There has to be law and order. They sent AOC down there going, what? Let them all in. And that's what they do. They tug at the heartstrings, and the uneducated people are like children that don't understand that the grown-ups are trying to handle business and do
looking
it right.
out for their best interest.
Yeah, but they don't understand. And that's why we have to educate the minorities and the Latino community, because they need to understand this. Us doing the making the tough decisions is not caring. It's actually caring more. It's actually showing you that we care for you and your kids and everybody else. But you know what they do? They tug at the heartstrings, but they don't really do anything. Notice how he's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, defender of of the elotes, of the street vendors down there. But notice how he didn't bring it up. Why do you think he brought it up? Because that's what? Capitalism.
No, but he tried to tell Eli that it wasn't capitalist. He said because that they're not paying no tax, that it's 100% they get to keep it. So it's not capitalism.
No. See, but see, that's where he tricks people up. Is no elote man ever in history said this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like ever. They do that so they can own a bunch, and then guess what? Keep the profit so they can make more money and be rich and get what? Do you think they want to do wealth distribution and give it to everybody else that's not working hard? No, he knows that. That's why he didn't ask. It's stupid. Like he would look stupid to them. That's why he didn't touch that. That's why he didn't touch it with the 10-foot pole. Like I watched him. I'm sitting there going, bro, when are you going to bring up the street vendors? But he's not. I mean, he did for a little bit, but he tried to jump off because I said, even at one point, he even said, yeah, socialism is for the rich. It is for the rich. He, under his breath, he said that. And I was like, whatever, man. But I don't even believe half the
But I
time.
even challenged him at one time. We're right there in East LA, and we're over here in California, LA, and every word out of their mouth is white supremacist. And I'm like, we're right here in East LA. I told him, that's ridiculous. You guys are rockets. If you're in Mississippi somewhere or something like that, even then, talking about white supremacy. We're over here in LA, we're in East LA, and you guys are talking every word white supremacist. I said, white supremacists, I never had no problem with them in my life. I said, if anything, the problems that I see racial was between blacks and Latinos. It wasn't with whites. Whites never did nothing to me before, but that was just ridiculous how they were doing that.
Well, a lot of that stuff, Jesse, comes out from the education system. In fact, 1992, that was part of the big Mecha, the Mecha movements in multiple locations. Now, not only in Southern California, but also in Northern California, you had these large groups of Mecha clubs or Mecha, that were propagating or mobilizing under the gaze of, of social injustices. Nowadays, you see them with BLM, you see them with ethnic studies. Now you're seeing them with, what we know internally with, what we're seeing now, indigenous studies or on social or on things about land. This is these things propagated back in the 90s, back when I was in high school, and I heard about it. I'm like, this is crazy. Did I just move from Mexico to be, in a place where I continue to be slave according to what they're telling me? Or did I move to the United States to be free and to actually make money? I mean, I moved to have a job, get a house, get a car. Capitalism. That's why I moved, because I already have tasted the socialism, gaze or disguise in our countries under social parties or socialist parties or labor parties in Mexico. So for that matter, I understood clearly that this is not right. So these people come in and these are the way they think. Their mentality is like, hey, listen, we can benefit from it. Number one, a lot of them are very dependent on government loans, government funding. A lot of the educations or programs are funded by the government to impose some of these teachings are through ethnic studies. So when you start understanding some of these things, why people think the way they think and they believe it is because of the education. This is
and
what
it's always, another thing too is whenever you ever said that, oh, you know what, we actually support entrepreneurs to make it to the top. How many times have you ever seen them support somebody that's really high up that makes it? They always support the person that's the lowest at the bottom, right? They're always like, we support the one that's way at the bottom that can't make no money. So you're like, okay, so where do you want to take those people to?
Right.
Like, I'm just curious, like, where do you want to take them to? Do you just want to make them all the same and everybody get paid $20 an hour and that's it? Because they're not talking about, hey, we need to make, a business. We want to make entrepreneurs. We want to make the Latino community strive. No, they're literally saying, hey, we're poor. You guys are rich. And we want just a little bit more comfortable and all the same. Like, is that their goal? Like, you'll never get a straight up answer of how they want their culture to actually be. But I want to talk about Dolores Huerta. I didn't know.
Wait,
I wasn't paying attention.
hold on. First, let's do the questions, Ron.
Yeah. Let's see if we have. Somebody said. Well,
Wait,
somebody
wait, wait,
mentioned.
wait. First do the commercial. Like, go ahead and
Oh,
do it,
yeah.
Aaron.
Let's get the commercial. Give me one
Well,
second
the
here.
commercial, then we're gonna answer some questions when we get back.
Right on.
Yes.
Let's go to our sponsor. Thank you, guys.
Hi, this is Kathy DeHart with DeHart Construction Services, located right here in the Inland Empire. You know, we're a family owned business, and today our youngest member of our family is visiting. Kinsey, can you say hi?
Hi.
Now, Kinsey, I have an important question for you. Where do you think food comes from?
A market store?
You're right. But before it gets to a market, we have farmers and dairies and all kinds of other people who make food. Do you remember hearing that?
Uh-huh.
And then we have people who have to keep the food cold.
And guess what?
What?
I remember we getting strawberries at a litter market.
Well, Papa and I, we work with companies that make food and keep food cold and gets it to the grocery stores.
That's cool.
DCS is a proud supporter of the American Dream. For all of your cold storage or food facility needs, visit our website at chillwithdheart.com. Once again, chillwithdheart.com. Serving all of California, CSLB 949062.
Go ahead, A-Rod. Go ahead and talk about, say what you're gonna say about Dolores Huerta, then we're gonna take a couple questions.
Okay,
Go ahead.
yeah, no, he mentioned Dolores Huerta and it slid right past me. I didn't see it. I don't know if I wasn't paying attention, but she's from our area. And you want to talk about somebody that has literally used the Latino community to enrich her own pockets, from sending advocates down to Mexico to try to bring them over, lawyers on the other side, while pretty much, using our girls, child trafficking, making a way for the cartels to rape our girls. I don't see them fighting against all these things. I just see them enriching their pockets while they do nothing for the community. All they do is when they see something go on, they go over there and they try to be like an activist for that person, but they're not enriching anybody. They're not bringing anybody to a higher moral standard. They're not bringing anybody other than themselves and their families. And I'll be honest with you. So you guys will know this. When he mentioned Dolores Huerta, I've been to school board meetings with Cesar Chavez's niece, where I went up there and pushed back on the LGBT history in the schools, and they come up right after me and say that Dolores Huerta Foundation and the Cesar Chavez Foundation back LGBTQ history in the schools. So you guys, I'm gonna tell you guys, the same reason why you guys are leaving the party is the same. I guess the head of the snake is advocating for it. So don't fall for all that crap like they actually care, because they don't care about our children.
Right. And then just to add that, one more, I'm waiting for a couple more questions, but just adding to that, when you start understanding the background to it with Cesar Chavez, like you mentioned, I think you hit it right in the nail. Cesar Chavez was actually used by means of multiple people within good interest to promote what have we been talking about? Marxism, right? It goes into socialism through revolution to propagate into what they want, and this is what they want. We got two people that came out of the same movement. The movement back in the Mexico 1917 that actually moved into El Paso. Right, because that's where everything propagated in El Paso, the Chicano movement, everything moved from El Paso all the way into the inskirts of Tijuana down to San Diego and down to up the north. So when you start understanding some of these things of why, Harold said, you need to understand the history to it. Of course, we understand. We were back in 1990s in the education system. We know our histories of where, socialism and communism, we call it what it is. Communism is socialism in its form. And, so, we got to say it for what it is. And we're looking at history. The problem is that they're not reading into history and they're just capturing.
Well, another thing real quick, when he talked about the word Latino, right? When he was like, it came from this and that. I'm like, as we speak English, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's sitting there talking in dialect, or you know what I mean, as he's speaking English. And I'm like, bro, you're mad at the English word as you're speaking English. But it's just, I don't know. I just think that when people say, oh, I want socialism, I want wealth distribution, I want everything to be fair, it never starts with those people, right? It's not like they're opening their doors saying, oh, what do you have? You only got one couch? I got three. Come take mine. It always starts with the other guy, not me. I'm the one advocating for it, right? You starts two guys. And it's like, yeah, okay.
It's like he's trying to put lipstick on a pig. He's trying to make it sound good. No matter what he could say, we all know socialism is garbage. The only ones that usually fall for it is these little kids that are still in high school. They're getting indoctrinated. But that's how it always is when they're in high school and college and all that. They're liberals, but then when they grow up and they buy a house, get a job, and have families and all that, then they realize that that's all garbage unless they're the diehard. And those are the same freaks that you see
You
out
ever
there with the
notice, like,
parents.
is this me? Or you ever notice, like, a lot of the left-leaning activists are always upset? Like, they're always pissed.
They
You ever
don't have
notice that?
God.
You're like, man, why are you always mad?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Then after, when they capture everything, they're not going to be happy. So we just got to stand up and we got to stand firm. You know what I mean? And so one of the things also that captured me was the Latin. You know, did you know it's Latin? Of course, Latino is Latin. You know what I mean? But when he tried to use it like, hey, well, no, wrong. And I'm like, bro, it comes from the Latin.
Yeah, just because you say
It's a
that.
Latin word. I was like, I was literally sitting there going, I wonder how many people are going to believe this crap.
Bro, I was
Yeah, that's
sitting
why
there.
that dude said that he was earlier. One of the comments said that they have statistics. No, they didn't. Most of the statistics were wrong.
No, because that's how stupid people are. That's like me going up there and him saying, did you know the churches actually came from Mars? In 1929, Mars actually fell down from the sky
Yeah, that's what
at
they were doing.
0.7 miles per. And I bet you people would be like, dang, this fool knows his facts. You
And
can
he's just
spew
making
out
it up.
whatever and try to make you look good, but it doesn't mean you're right. Bro, let me tell you, he had a list about Trump, right? Okay, first of all, it went like this, right? Let me show you his list. My
And
wife
not
said
one of
best. My
those
wife said
arrests
best.
had
It looked like a third
anything to
grade
do with
science
Trump.
fair project.
Yeah.
He was
No, but
like,
I told him, where'd you get that from? Occupy Democrats? And I said, and not one of those had anything to do with
yo,
Trump, right? Not one of those people had or arrests or anything
so
like that had anything
trip
to
out
do
on
with Trump,
this.
right?
So Jess goes, hey, so he gave this, right? And he said some names. Jess gets in the comments and goes, hey, bro, that one dude wasn't even his advice.
Yeah, he wasn't even the dude he kept crying
so
about.
so then you know what his answer was to Jess? What about everybody else? Instead of saying my bad, like he wanted me to, or whatever, my bad, I was wrong. He goes, yeah, but what everybody else? But see, it was already out there. People actually think
And that was
I'm
the
like,
main one he was pushing was that fool. That's what I'm saying. He gave a false stat. That fool, and he said Trump's advisor, like total lie. And then if you go, he wasn't no Trump's advisor. All of that dude did was met Don Jr. And he was actually the Emirate. He was for an ambassador for the Arab Emirates or whatever. He even actually was helping the Clinton campaign. So he had, you know what I mean? So how are you supposed to know? They meet a dude. He's ambassador from the Emirates or whatever. Thinking, oh, he's an ambassador from the Emirates or whatever. You know, I don't know. This fool has a past or what. You know what I mean? Like totally fake. And then he was rightly pushing that. Even on other comments, he was jumping on our page, mentioning like, what about Trump's guy, his advisor and all that. And then later, oh, but what about all the guys? Like. So that's the main one you were pushing, and now you're even admitting. So you were lying. All of that you were saying, you were just lying, but like totally. Because I'm saying mostly, I'll say like 90% of the things that they were saying was all false, unless a couple of the history things that they're saying might have been. Well, I don't even know if it is, but I'll give them maybe that. But go ahead and ask a few. Is there any questions, Alfred?
There's actually a lot of comments, so we have multiple comments. Here we just have some people that are saying. The question is, why don't you guys have invite this person up? I'm like, who this person is? I'm going through the chat. Hey, everyone, really quick, if ask your questions. We're looking at the chat, and we're gonna be asking questions. Or if you have your questions, go ahead and ask it there. I want to thank
they
Elba.
asked us. I think that if we really wanted to, we could interview them. But like at the end of the day, we don't want it to make a back and forth. We actually want it to be constructive. We want to have civil discourse. We want to make sure we agree to disagree. At this point, I think that we bled it dry. I think it's going to be a I gotcha. You know what I mean? And that's what I told Lucky at the beginning. I don't want to make it that way because at the end of the day, like I said, we work with guys like this. You know what I mean? Like we work with people that believe stuff like this, and we still get along with them. We just don't talk about politics, right? Like whatever. So we could, if we wanted to, switch the tables, ask them the questions, but then it's just like it's just going to be all about TV and also, you know what I mean? It's all going to be just for show. And we're actually trying to make an impact. We're actually trying to educate people. You know, we really want people to come to Christ. We really want people to know God and you know, live for God and make decisions based off of their godly moral values. We're just not in this just to be like Trump, Trump, Trump. And another thing too is, look at, is Trump better than Biden? 100%, right? Trump's better than Biden. But this is what they do. See, we can criticize Trump because guess what? He's not God. God is the only person that is perfect. So when you're an elected official, you say, look, this guy did something wrong, that guy did something that wrong. When they say, oh, look, you talk about Trump, he won't say nothing bad about Trump. It's not that we wouldn't say nothing bad about Trump. It's the fact that if you want us to take you seriously, then why aren't you calling out your guy that's actual president right now? Then I'll take your question seriously. I'll take your little third grade science fair project chart seriously if you actually did the same on your end, but you're not. You're not. What he's doing is just a small version of what they're doing for the January 6th and all this other stuff to Trump. They have to keep a narrative alive to keep this whole, like I told you guys before, like hyenas trying to feed them, right? To feed their little clan in order to keep their clan happy, they have to do that, right? So at the end of the day, what he was trying to do was pin us in a corner, and we're like, we've been objective. We've actually called out Trump when we didn't agree with doing the vaccine, right? Probably one of the only ones that did. We called him out about some other spots too there. And like he said, he told me, oh yeah, but you would still vote for him or something like that. And I said, yeah, kind of like you said, if they held a gun to your head. But see, that's what they do. Oh, I'm not a Democrat. Oh, because it actually, it releases you of all guilt that goes on to Biden. That's what they do, right?
Well,
They get no
you can't
accountability for
counter.
nothing.
You can't attack them because everything that you're attacking them on the Democrats, I'm not a Democrat. That's what he said. Every time we're getting him on things, he's been, oh, I ain't a Democrat. Like in the comments, we're right there dogging him. And every time he's, oh, I ain't no Democrat. I don't care and all that. Yeah, you are. Not like A-Rod said. Not only they're Democrats, they're far left Democrat. I mean, they're leftist extremists. So it's ridiculous for them to say that they're not them. Because we all probably know some Democrats and work with or whatever. They're cool, just regular Democrats. These dudes are far left, righteous old Democrats.
100%, man. It's crazy. Hey, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, man, I'm giving a shout out to the folks out in the chat room. We got Elba Camacho. We got Jerry Lavengreen, who's there. B. Arias is there. Jackie Jules is there. We have the kid, Frank 24 is there. We have Don Pelchot. So, hey, a shout out to all of you guys. Remember, we want to hear your messages. We want to hear questions. So we're giving you guys an opportunity to ask us questions. Right now, we're talking specifically for some of you that are just catching on. We're having a little discussion about how it went with the Hoodstock podcast, where we have Jesse and A-Rod, who had a little quick battle with Alex and Heron and a couple of other people in there, where they were discussing some of these conversations about, leftists and right. And, it got pretty heated, right?
It did.
Yeah,
and also, we got our Lexit gear. Me and A-Rod were wearing our shirts that said Latino, not Latinx. We have all of our gear on our website at wearelexit.com. So if you want to, and anything you do, it helps us. It helps us to keep reaching Latinos you support us by buying our gear, and then you get yourself some great gear. Plus, Christmas season's coming. What better gift to get than bam? Some Lexit gear. We have some great. We have ones with scriptures on it. We have all kinds of different designs and stuff, even women's gear. So just go to our website, wearelexit.com, and check out our gear. Like I said, especially for Christmas.
Yeah, excellent. So before we get, I know you guys want to jump into the next conversation. I know Yay is one of the big conversations that
we got to do it now because we're almost time's up. Time's up. So
I know. We got to jump. Actually, somebody came up and said and asked, and he actually pointed out. He says, "Yay, Kanye is trying to disrupt everyone's comfort zone by things that by things that he's been saying. The mainstream media, leftist corporations, or leftist stars are at the Democrats trying to cancel him, and that's so true, right? This is what's going on. Somebody falls out of line, what happens?
But he's crazy, and I think Trump made a big mistake by inviting him and that dude Nick Fuentes, and he's a righteous racist and all that. Because like A-Rod said, like even everything we were doing on that show. We're right there batting in the left and all he's doing is making it harder for all of us going forward. They're gonna attack him. They already attack him on racism and all that whatever nonsense. So now they're just gonna be jumping all over it. And like Brandon Tatum did a podcast too today, and he was saying it was like if the game hasn't even started, and Trump already threw an interception for a touchdown. So the game's barely starting, and we're already behind by a touchdown. That was a huge mistake by Trump.
And here's the thing too, and I'm just having a conversation out loud. This is going to be divided, and this is what me and something Jess were talking about, and we're just having a real conversation. And me and Jess talked about it. There's a lot of people, probably more of the majority, because I went to Gateway Pundit? Were they the ones that posted it? I think so, right? Yeah, they posted something like that. I went over there. A lot of the comments, the majority of them, were in support of Kanye. Thousands, like we're in there supporting. So I think when it comes to this, it's going to be split with people that are supporting Kanye because he's exposing what he feels is the elite, right? Jesse pointed out something I thought was very smart earlier when we were having this conversation. He said, Trump, when he came out, he said a lot of things that were true. He didn't know how to say them because he wasn't a politician, right? Mm-hmm. Like when Trump came out and said people that were coming over were rapists. Was he right? 100%. As a Latino, we know that. Could he probably have worded his words a little bit different? Yeah, but we know he's not a politician. So whatever came out, came out. Kanye is saying things that's going to make it very hard on people like us that literally fought in the chats to try to win people over because people just want an excuse. It's like they're throwing them, giving them layups. And we understand that Kanye is going through a lot. Maybe mentally we don't know what he's going through, but we understand he's fighting the elite, whether you want to call it the Illuminati or whatever. But like Jess said, sometimes you have to be smart. Why don't you say the Illuminati, right? Why you could say Jews? It's like you're putting yourself in a box already. And guess what? We got to sit there and be like, no, but what he meant was, and everybody's like, no. And guess what? It already put us on defense. So I get what Kanye's doing. If anybody attacks you, like if anybody comes at Jess is going to be like, what? And maybe people on the sidelines will be like, Jess, don't say it like that. Say it like this. Dang, I can't really defend you because you went off too much and blah, 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 right? So Kanye seeing what Trump went through, maybe, just maybe, Kanye could have worded things different, right? But he's going to be Kanye. Trump, who came and met with them, maybe he's seen what all of us went through defending him, could have thought something a little different than to meet with certain people that they know are going to be looked at as super right-leaning, right?
No, but look at that. Think about it. That's ridiculous. Look at, he said Hitler was a good dude and talking good. Like, come on now. Like, everybody knows one of the worst people that probably ever lived in history was Hitler. Remember, who's only second? Satan, and then Hitler's second. You know what I mean? Like, that's like the stupidest thing you could possibly say.
Jess, so real quick, I literally, when I was in the Gateway Pundit, I was looking at all the questions. Hundreds of people were defending that comment. Like,
see, those are just all fakes.
He said that he loves everybody, and there was good in everybody. And I was just like,
are you kidding
that's what I'm
me?
saying. On this one, it's gonna be interesting to see how this one play out.
But what I heard, you guys, is I don't know if this is confirmed, but the Gateway Pundit actually provided a detail that, hey, somebody else outside of the Trump administration brought Kanye and Rick Fontes. I think it was a gentleman who was actually I'm trying to get the information so I'm not misleading anyone, but it was actually someone else who's not happy with the Republican Party, who has been outspoken in the past in regards how
it was that guy
Mino, right? Yeah. So he's, see, some came up where he says, hey, the person that brought, these two guests was actually that gentleman. And so they're trying to defend that, that action with, hey, listen, Trump did not know that.
But here's where they're mad at. What I was
Uh-huh.
telling Jess here to continue on to that, where I was kind of not upset with Trump. Well, I'm not. Look, at the end of the day, you can do anything you want.
Right.
But I guess they came to his advisors, came to him afterwards, and said, "Hey, bro, Trump, this guy's no good, right? Fuentes is no good." That's what they said. I'm not saying I'm not giving my opinion on this. I'm just telling you what the article said. They went to his advisor, went to Trump, and said, "Hey, bro, this guy, very bad dude, says a lot of things that may a lot of people on the conservative movement may not like." Trump said, "Well, I didn't hear him. I don't know him." That's what Trump said. I don't know the dude Nick Fuentes. I don't know him. But I didn't hear him say any anti-Semitic things. And they were asking him to pretty much denounce him, and he was just like kind of shied away from it. So they're going to use that now. Now they're going to use that as saying that Trump supports white nationalism. That's going to be their Charleston, all this other stuff going on. Here's my point in all this. All you Trumpers that love Trump, I get it. I get it. Like, I get why, hey, I get it. Come on, Trump. Dude, we fought, like, we're sitting here trying with the Latino community. You basically, like Jess said, you let them score before the game. So now you just gave them something they're going to talk about for the next year. And if people say, you know what, screw that, then you don't know what Lexit actually does. You don't know the big impact and role that we play. And it's kind of like if you're a coach on the team and you're like, hey, players, I got everybody. You have that one teammate that ruins it for everybody and cusses, and you're like, man, why are you doing that? Like, bro. And Trump had a moment. I know it wasn't a setup. I know he didn't know who they were. But sometimes you got to be smart and come out and be like, look, I don't know what it was. But hey, if that guy's saying things that are improper, but I know Trump. Trump doesn't want to lose any votes, so he plays this game where he wants to be the president to everybody. So he doesn't say nothing about the LGBTQ. He doesn't say nothing about this group, the far right, because he wants everybody to like him. But when you're in this situation, you alienate a large portion that you're trying to bring over. That's not a smart move to me. That's just me. This is my personal
Especially him, that dude, Nick Fuentes. Like, he made a comment. I heard that he was saying that black people ain't as smart as white people, and all kinds of like really racist things. Like, so
now
I
they're
don't
going to
like
tie
that
him
dude.
into that.
If other conservatives you like them, I don't. You know what I mean? That you shouldn't like that dude. I don't like that dude. We won't ever do anything with that dude Nick Fuentes, just because to me, those are racist and those are ridiculous comments. But yeah, it's just going to be tough, man, because now we know already coming through, we're going to have to all have, like, always clean up his mess, eh? He cleaned another big old mess, gave them a hell of a victory. So now they're going to be playing it all for all it's worth. And like,
But it's not
luckily,
going to be a victory for the ones
it
that
just
love
happened.
that.
Yeah, luckily it just happened, bro. Because imagine if he would have did it after, we would have had to been right there with Alex and those dudes answering for that. That would have been like, they would have jumped all over it, and we would have been right there. Luckily that it barely happened today or whatever. But imagine, bro, that we would be all over that. They would be all over it. We would have to be happy to clean it up.
That's right. Well, somebody, the kid Frank says someone needs to sit down with Trump and tell him to keep it chill, play chess, not checkers. That's a good advice.
100%, bro. Look, at the best advice I could give Trump, which is actually makes him great. So there's no way he's gonna do it because we love it about him. It's like his biggest asset, but also his biggest failure is his mouth, right?
Exactly.
There's times, bro, epic, bro. I've never heard anybody clown the way this dude does. Remember that one news reporter where he's like, yeah, I'm not a big, sit down and never, I'm not a fan of you. And he goes, well, I can say that guy's a good guy. Yeah, I've never really been a big fan of you either. Sit down. Bro, those are like the greatest lines in history. Like, of history of,
he
like,
made up fake news and all that.
Bro, he's like the ultimate
troll, media troll,
ultimate like roasting machine. Like, he's it. But on the other hand, when he opens his mouth, sometimes he leaves this big old mess that that for us to clean up, and sometimes, and I know he's not perfect, and I know that he's just a man, and that's what we love about him. You know, a lot of people do, but I'm not a, oh my God, 100% Trumper. But I hate to say it. Sometimes when you watch these videos, you can't help to like and smile at some of the stuff he was roasting them at. Like, hey, I like the one with Jeb Bush when he's like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you look like you're fighting real hard. And then he's like, yeah, it's going to take more than that to win. You don't know. He's like, yeah, how come he's like, I'm at 43 and you're at 3. And he's like, and you keep on moving farther down the line, you're going to eventually fall off the stage. I was like,
He
hey,
clowned
bro.
Rosie O'Donnell for her weight and all
Oh,
that too.
bro.
He's a
This
fool.
was
Right?
fun.
But we got to end it.
Yes,
But,
sir.
but
So anyhow, well, big shout out to Alberto Asensio. He says East LA, and then so we have some more folks that are just logging in. We got approximately some more folks, but yet again, this is the first time that we're opening up for these kind of chat questions. So listen, next week, don't forget, we'll be starting off again at 6 p.m. Be ready at the chat. We're gonna be taking it there. The team is gonna be ready to answer some more questions. Go ahead and get your shirts, man. Look, I need an update shirt. So I'm gonna be getting that one Latinx. We're Latinos, not Latinx. So go ahead and continue to log in and continue to stay posted.
And also,
here.
one last thing is, all of us are going to be in LA on December 17th. We're going to be passing out toys and food at Calvary Chapel, South LA. Come out and hang out with us. And if you want to donate, bring toys or whatever, the whole Lexit crew is going to be giving out toys and food at the Calvary Chapel, South LA on December 17th. So just come out, donate, whatever you want.
Yep. Shout out for Elsa Pareda. We have Elba Camacho saying, good job, guys. Thank you so much. Gracias. The kid, Frank, 24, who says he's from the 805. So we'll continue. Jackie Jewel says, high five to A-Rod. And he says, and also says, gracias, Lexit, for all you guys do. So here we are, guys. Next week, we'll see you guys here at the same time, Thursday, 6 p.m. Stay posted and continue to keep up with our social media pages. God bless you guys and see you here next week.
God bless.
Hi, this is Kathy DeHart with DeHart Construction Services, located right here in the Inland Empire. You know, we're a family-owned business, and today our youngest member of our family is visiting. Kinsey, can you say hi?
Hi.
Now, Kinsey, I have an important question for you. Where do you think food comes from?
A market store?
You're right. But before it gets to a market, we have farmers and dairies and all kinds of other people who make food. Do you remember hearing that?
Uh-huh.
And then we have people who have to keep the food cold.
And guess what?
What?
I remember we getting strawberries at a litter market.
Well, Papa and we work with companies that make food and keep food cold and gets it to the grocery stores.
That's cool.
DCS is a proud supporter of the American Dream. For all of your cold storage or food facility needs, visit our website at chillwithdheart.com. Once again, chillwithdheart.com. Serving all of California, CSLB 949062.